What if to become the greatest hero ever born, you first had to clean the filthiest place in the world? The fifth labor of Hercules was unlike anything before. No beast to hunt, no monster to kill, just filth. King Eurystheus had changed his strategy. He had tried to kill Hercules with deadly creatures, but the hero kept winning. Now he would try something different. He would try to humiliate him and make him fail. Eurystheus commanded Hercules to travel to Elis and clean the stables of King Augeas. This was the filthiest place ever known. King Augeas owned over 3,000 cattle, sacred animals blessed by his father, the sun god Helios. The herds were enormous, and they produced waste constantly. The stables hadn't been cleaned in over 30 years. Mountains of filth piled higher than walls. The stench spread across the entire region, poisoning the land and choking the air. The waste was so deep that the task seemed impossible for any number of men, let alone one person. But here was the real trap. Hercules had to clean it all in a single day. The king had found the perfect task to defeat Hercules. First, the hero would be humiliated, a mighty warrior doing the lowest job imaginable. Then he would fail, because cleaning that place in one day was impossible for any man. Not even 100 men could do it. The trap was set. Hercules arrived at the kingdom of Elis and made his way to King Augeas' palace. The king was one of the wealthiest men in Greece, blessed with divine cattle that would make any ruler powerful. When Hercules stood before the king, he didn't mention that Eurystheus had sent him. Instead, he made a proposal. "If I can clean your stables in one day, give me 1/10 of your cattle. If I fail, you owe me nothing." King Augeas couldn't help but laugh. This hero was clearly boasting about something impossible. But the king saw no risk in agreeing. Hercules couldn't possibly succeed, which meant Augeas would lose nothing. He might even get some of the waste cleared for free. "I accept your terms," Augeas said, still smiling at what he thought was foolish confidence. To make the agreement official, the king called his son Filthiest to witness the deal. Filthiest stood nearby and heard every word. 1/10 of the cattle if Hercules cleaned the stables in a single day. The contract was made. Augeas was certain he would never have to pay. Now Hercules just had to figure out how to do the impossible. Hercules walked away from the palace and surveyed the land. The stables stretched before him like a monument to impossible tasks. Mountains of filth, decades of waste, all waiting to be cleared before sunset. He didn't pick up a shovel. He didn't call for workers. Instead, he studied the terrain. 2 rivers flowed nearby, the Alpheus and the Peneus. Their waters rushed through the valleys, powerful and constant. Hercules looked at the rivers, then at the stables, then back at the rivers. And then he understood what needed to be done. Hercules began moving stones. Not ordinary stones, massive boulders that would take dozens of men to shift. He rolled them into position along the riverbanks, one after another, building walls that began to redirect the flow of water. He worked through the morning, constructing channels that would guide the rivers towards the stables. Stone by stone, he shaped the land itself, creating a path for the water to follow. By midday, he had built a dam that blocked the natural course of both rivers. The waters began to rise behind the barrier, growing stronger with each passing moment. Then Hercules made one final opening, a gap that pointed directly at the filthy stables. The rivers exploded through the new channel. Water thundered into the stalls with the force of a flood. The rushing current crashed against decades of filth, sweeping it away in a roaring surge. Waste that had poisoned the land for 30 years vanished under the power of the rivers. The waters poured through every corner of the stables, scouring the floors, washing the walls, carrying away everything that didn't belong. The air began to clear. The stench disappeared. By the time the sun began its descent toward the horizon, the stables stood clean. Hercules had done the impossible, not with strength alone, but with intelligence and strategy. He had turned nature itself into his tool, using the power of rivers to accomplish what no amount of manual labor could have achieved in a single day. Hercules returned to King Augeas' palace as the sun set. The stables stood clean behind him, gleaming in the fading light. The impossible task was complete. But King Augeas refused to pay. The king had watched as Hercules diverted the rivers and accomplished in hours what should have taken months. He realized he had been outsmarted. This hero hadn't worked like a common laborer. He had used intelligence to make nature do the work. Augeas felt foolish. He had agreed to give away 1/10 of his precious herds, and now he was trapped by his own word. So he tried to invalidate the deal. He argued that the rivers had done the cleaning, not Hercules. He claimed no real work had been performed. Filthiest, the king's own son, stepped forward. With an honor his father lacked, he confirmed the truth. A deal had been made, and Hercules had done exactly as promised. But the king's pride was wounded. Enraged by his son's testimony, Augeas exiled them both, Hercules and Filthiest, driving them from Elis without reward. Now here's what you need to know. This injustice won't go unanswered. The score will be settled, but you'll have to wait to see how. Right now, our hero has something more important to focus on, finishing what he started. The path to immortality isn't complete yet. When Hercules returned to Mycenae, victorious once again against the impossible, another injustice was about to be witnessed. King Eurystheus had heard the full story. He learned that Hercules had made a deal with Augeas, promising to clean the stables in exchange for 1/10 of the cattle, and the king saw his opportunity. He had agreed to clean the stables for hire, not purely as service to the king. According to Eurystheus, this meant it wasn't a true labor. Hercules had completed an impossible task, and now both kings had refused to count it. 2 victories, 2 betrayals, 2 rulers who would rather cheat than honor a hero's work. But here's what Eurystheus didn't understand. Every time he tried to humiliate Hercules, he was only proving that the hero was more than just strength. He was smart, he was adaptable, and he wasn't going to quit. The 5th labor was complete, even if the kings refused to admit it. And the path to immortality continued. So here's a question for you. Have you ever accomplished something incredible, only to have someone else refuse to give you credit for it? Leave your experience in the comments. The 6th labor is about to begin. Trust me, you've never heard the story of the Stymphalian birds told like this before.